Hello, this is saxophonist Antonio Parker, and this is A Conversation in Jazz, where we are promoting jazz through telling the stories. Our guest today is the wonderful pianist, vocalist, composer, educator, bandleader, and founder of the annual Washington Women in Jazz Festival, Miss Amy K Bormet. We ask you to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell icon so we can let you know when we are posting another video or going live. We also ask you to donate to our Cash App in order to support the channel and help us to produce future videos. Our Cash App is $Jazzology 101. That's $Jazzology 101. Enjoy the video. Hi, I'm saxophonist Antonio Parker, and this is A Conversation in Jazz. Today we have a wonderful pianist, vocalist, composer, educator, bandleader, and also the founder of the annual Washington Women in Jazz Festival. She is known for her freewheeling style, her original music, and her ability to interpret the jazz standard. Please welcome my sister from another mister, the lovely Miss Amy K Bormet.
Oh, hello.
Amy, how you doing?
I'm doing so good.
Welcome to A Conversation in Jazz.
Thank you. I'm feeling so famous in here with you.
Oh no, you've been doing some amazing things. So I thought I knew you.
Uh-oh.
But I was doing some research. I said, wow, you're doing some incredible work and some incredible things. So we're gonna learn a little about that today.
Yeah.
This is where we learn the story behind the story. Okay.
The secrets.
Yeah. Do you remember where we met?
Oh, man. I feel like it was HR 57. Did we meet before that?
Okay. We did a gig at HR 57.
Right?
Yeah.
That was our first gig.
Yeah. Wow.
We tore it up.
That was a while ago.
That was a minute. I was thinking about that because I remember you bringing your kids and they were like 7.
Wow.
7, 8, 9,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, because they're like 22 and 23
Yeah.
now.
So it was that long ago.
Wow. So we've known each other for a minute.
Yeah.
Okay. Beautiful. Well, welcome to A Conversation in Jazz again.
Thank you.
So my first question for you is, who is Amy K Bormet?
That's me. I'm
Yes.
Amy K Bormet. I'm an ever-evolving being. I'm just out here
Yes.
doing all sorts of things. I've been working on being a human
Yes.
for decades now.
Yes.
And my favorite thing about being a human is making music with other people. So playing piano, I'm playing the accordion really poorly, playing the guitar now since the pandemic. I've
Wow.
been singing. I've been writing music for myself, writing music for other people, and just generally having a great time creating.
Yes. Beautiful.
And going through this process with everybody, just this muddy middle section of my life. It's been really fun.
No doubt.
Yeah.
So let's go back.
Yes.
Where are you originally from?
That's a heavy question. Where am I from? I was born in Ohio, Dayton, Ohio, just like Billy Strayhorn. And I moved around as a kid and ended up here.
Was your dad in the military?
No, my dad was a city manager.
Okay.
Which is like it's kind of a politically charged job, so you don't stay anywhere super long.
Okay.
So we lived in Ohio, a few different places in Ohio, and then moved out to Oregon, which was gorgeous and rainy and beautiful. And then when I turned 16, my father had started working in D.C., and I was still living in Oregon with my mom, and he was like, come on and visit me. I found this school called Duke Ellington School of the Arts, and I was like, I love Duke Ellington. I've been really big into swing music, really big into swing dancing. We used to go to like downtown Portland. They had the bouncy floors, the wooden floors with the springs underneath them, and be swing dancing 13, 14 years old. I thought I was super cute. The 90s were magical. And so I was like, oh, the Duke Ellington, and he's from DC, and wow, they have this school. So I went to the school when I visited my dad Labor Day weekend, and going into my junior year, auditioned, fell in love like anyone who's gone to Ellington does, and just started school on Tuesday.
Wow.
Just was like, I'm not going to take my flight home. I called my mom. I was like, can you send me some money? I need to go get some clothes.
How'd your mom feel about that?
She was into it. She was into it. She ended up, she had an interview for a job at Gallaudet in the fall, later in the fall. So she ended up coming out and we all reconvened.
Yeah.
So the magic pull of DC was like so many things were meant to be to align to bring me here, my family here, and Duke Ellington was really that big push for me immediately. There was like I kind of was like, oh, maybe, because school in Oregon didn't start until the end of September. So I was like, well, maybe if I don't, I don't have to fully commit. And the first day I went, I was like, everybody's singing and dancing on the stage. They're doing A-Train. The show choir is doing the movements. Yeah. Everybody's so kind and so excited about music and making music, and I'm jamming out. And, there's all these amazing, Herb Scott's there and Ben Williams and all these, people that are amazing musicians even when they were teenagers. Yeah. So I was hooked.
Wow.
That was it, yeah.
So would you say did you grow up for a period of time in Oregon?
I did, until I was 16.
What was Oregon like coming up?
It was so gorgeous. I mean, it rained the whole time, but in the summer, everything's green, and you can go out to to Multnomah Falls and go hiking, and it's beautiful waterfalls, and everybody's chilling, and bridges, and it was just a great place.
So you left your friends like that?
I did. I'm brutal. I'm absolutely brutal. They were so mad. And at the time, I didn't have a cell phone. This was 2000, so I didn't have a cell phone. I didn't have any of that. So I had to use the house phone and call this toll-free number to get free long distance. And so you listen to these commercials, and so they had the same commercials again and again. And then you get 5 minutes.
We didn't have cell phones back then. They did?
Oh yeah, there was people had cell phones, but I didn't have a cell phone. Okay. I didn't have a cell phone until college, later in college. I was like, yeah. So. So it was, I'd call my friends for 5 minutes at a time. And they, some of my friends from Oregon came to visit me. And one of them, my friend Janine, we went to, there was a show. We get tickets to free stuff all the time from Ellington. So I took an extra ticket for her, and it was a show at Ford's Theater. And we went there and we sat in the second row, and they were like, the elite students of the Duke Ellington School of the Arts. And it was just me and her. Yeah. We were like, it's just a couple of white girls right here. What's happening? And then they were like, "Oh, we want you to come and meet the president." So then there was Bush right there. Wow. So we have our picture with George Bush. So then all my other friends wanted to come from Oregon. They were like, "Oh, you can go and go to some free shows and meet the president." I was like, "Yeah, you're welcome."
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh man. Now, do you come from a musical family?
I think I do. I mean, definitely the type of family that really enjoys the arts, enjoys music. My mom is a musician. Okay. She plays clarinet, bass clarinet. She's been jamming out this summer. She has a clarinet choir.
See, that's important to know.
Yeah, she makes it happen. So, and she's also she's a retired audiologist. So, being around sound and all of those things.
You have siblings?
I do. My brother is also a music enthusiast. He has a radio show in Tacoma Park on Wowdy, and he plays really great music. He goes to a bunch of shows. He also plays instruments at home, and him and his kids and his wife.
So he's here too in DC?
Yeah, he's in Tacoma, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And they have music all the time, and they really enjoy it. So I was just there. My brother and my sister-in-law, Matt and Megan, they opened a bookstore in Tacoma Park, so we've been playing music at the bookstore, and the kids, their kids love music and always make requests. Yeah. So it's a good musical hang.
Yeah. So what was your first musical instrument?
I just went for all of them at the same time.
All of them?
I think, it definitely
flute
was.
Over there? There's
some, it was definitely piano. I had my mom's mom, her piano. I grew up with that piano, and it's a player piano. So it was the old-fashioned kind where you pump it, not the switch kind, So I would pump the piano. That was one of my first things I liked to do. I pumped it, and then it broke eventually, and then we had to get it fixed later down the road. But when I was younger, I would pump this piano, and the keys actually depress on the the piano, and so you can learn the little licks and stuff because the keys go down. So, but you have to keep it pumping fast enough, or it won't make any noise. So I had to kind of so I have all these licks that I'm like, is that a player piano lick? Like, where did that come from? And then you can shift the pitch over, so it'll play it in different keys and stuff like that. So every once in a while, the pitch would get shifted, and then I wouldn't be able to play along with the piano rolls anymore. So, I played piano a lot, banged on the piano, and sang all the time. I have really early memories of, like, my relatives calling and me somehow getting the phone and then just singing to them instead of talking to them, just being like, I learned a new song somewhere. Like 4-year-old me. Yeah. And they're like, that's nice. Is your mom home? Okay, sweetie. Sounds great.
So did you study music formally, like when initially?
I did. Not for a minute. I think I was like 9, maybe 8 or 9, and my brother took piano lessons, so he had all the books, and so I read the books and learned. My mom, plays some piano, and so I kind of was learning by myself, and then went to a group piano class, which was great because I'm a show off. So I was like,
it's all good.
Okay, who's gonna be the best now? Me. We'd have little competitions. We do like little around the world for reading music and stuff like that. So I'm very competitive, and I love to just be flashy and fun. And so that was a big motivation. I think if I had started out with just some nice old lady and me, I would have been like. But no, I wanted to.
But
be
you
the
initially
best.
started just exploring.
Yeah, and really, I knew what the piano did. I knew how it sounded before I really got into lessons. Before I really got into reading, and then I played. I was in a bunch of choirs and played in the band. I played clarinet, bass clarinet. It was the best. And I played trumpet for a while, and that was really, really awful for everyone.
So you were destined to become a musician.
I was, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like once you see an instrument.
Yeah.
And then my family, my mom has a really big family. And so once other people started I'm on the lower end of age for my cousins, so people would get rid of their instruments and be like, well, she doesn't play the violin anymore, so here. And he doesn't play the trumpet anymore, so here. And she's not using this flute, so here.
Wow.
So I just ended up with all these things that I could, mess around with and make sounds on and not be, not be intimidated of sounding bad, which I think is crucial to starting out anything.
Because, and we're going to talk about you as a composer. And your process. I was reading up on some of your process. The fact that you was exploring those different instruments might have had some played a role in your composing.
Sure, yeah. I love lots of. Sound is so magical.
Yeah, I know you say sound.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's good. Now, did music come easy for you?
There was definitely parts that were easy. I think that I played by ear really early on.
Okay.
And so that was, something that I think other people who came in just learning the written notes were always confused, Sometimes that's a hurdle to then go back and play by ear. But thankfully I started playing by ear. I feel like that's really the best way to do it.
You know what? I wish I would have started that way. See, I started learning, I started reading notes. Yeah. And so I'm like still to this day trying to fix my ear.
Yeah. Well, we put so little value on ear training when that should be, 98% of what we're doing. It's like, I remember, Charles Covington was my teacher at Howard, and he played Chopin pieces by ear. Yeah. He was like, I don't need the music. Yeah. I know how this one goes.
Yeah, I interviewed him here.
Yeah.
Yeah, he told me he was playing by ear before he could read.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure.
And yeah.
Wow. He's, phenomenal. But that's like, if you have that kind of ear, you can play anything. You don't need the written music.
Wish.
Yeah.
I wish.
Yeah, me too.
Do you have perfect pitch?
No, I have screw around pitch. What is that? Maybe E? Is that an E? I think it's an E, My husband has better pitch than I do, Matt, and he knows, like, because he's, plays the guitar so long and comes from a family of guitar players, so he knows where the guitar pitches are, so he'll just, I can hear him humming, and I'm like, you're cheating. Yeah. Oh, you can't. He's got, like, relative pitch. Yeah. I'm like, don't cheat. And then we get into fights about what the note is. A flat? I think it's A flat. Wow. Yeah, but I can feel pitches in where they land in my body pretty well singing because I've been singing for so long.
Yeah.
So I know that once I start getting really heavy into chest voice, that's a F. That's once I start feeling that thickness, that's a, I know those pitches F, E. I know the bottom of my range, and so I can get pretty close to where where people are going. But no, I'm glad I don't have perfect pitch because I think that can be a struggle for those out-of-tune pianos.
I wish I had that struggle.
Oh. But if you play the piano, you play an out-of-tune piano and you have perfect pitch, I've seen people they can't do it, Yeah. I love a junky piano. Yeah. I'm ready.
Do you think having a musical parent, now was your dad in music?
No, but he listened to a lot of music. Yeah, so he definitely likes music.
But your mom, she was a musician.
Mm-hmm.
I happen to believe that some of that gets passed down.
Oh, absolutely.
All the great musicians that I know, from Christian McBride, Jody Rosesco, Warren Wolf, Chris Fun.
Yeah.
All their parents are musicians. And
it's certainly the best.
I just believe that it gets passed down some way.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a love for music that will keep you coming back. Mm-hmm. So if you have that bite, then you're like, oh, yeah, let me just, yeah. And so, of course, when I was younger, we would play, clarinet duets together, and she would just hear me bomb. Yeah. and we played a lot of music together, and we're always singing together and playing music together and hanging out. So
did you know that you were going to pursue music at an early age?
I think I didn't know it was a possibility because the musicians that I knew growing up in Ohio and growing up in Oregon were teachers. They were all, my music teacher, and my mom, was working as an audiologist, and the choir director also had a job in, over here at the bank. It was never anybody doing the types of things that I'm, traveling and recording and those types of things. Yeah. I didn't see that.
Gotcha.
Until I came to DC and started hanging out with Davey Yarbrough and, then seeing him play at the Kennedy Center. And seeing simultaneously teaching and spreading this music everywhere, and then meeting all the people that he knew, going backstage at concerts at the Kennedy Center and meeting Shirley Horn, meeting Alice Marcellus, meeting all these professional musicians. Instead of just, I went to a lot of concerts in Oregon, but I never really understood that people were doing this all the time, specifically performing, which I was very into. Performing when I was younger, and I think now I'm sort of being a little bit more picky about where I'm performing. But when I was younger, I performed, right here on the stage. What do you need? Let's go.
So you had an intrinsic passion for music as a kid? I
think I had a passion for, a passion for music. Also, a big passion for being on stage. I love attention.
Okay.
I was that kid. It was I have 15 cousins, and we'd have a family talent show. And I would be
so you don't get nervous. You don't get nervous when you perform?
That's really funny because fundamentally, I never felt like I got nervous until after the pandemic, and then I came back to performing.
Wow!
And suddenly I had anxiety, like I had never had anxiety, but and I think it was part of it was just not been around people, and so it was it was like an anxiety of well, let me. I have to, and so I think I never was nervous as a kid. I had, an era where I felt like I really had to prove myself, but that wasn't a type of nervousness. That was I need to show everybody I can play my hot licks. You know what I mean? Now that I've kind of moved past, which comes with college, I think for me at least, came with college and proving myself. And now, anything I have, the anxiety that I have leading up to performing is all about outside things. It's never the actual music. Yeah. It's I gotta get all this stuff there, and then it's everybody gonna be on time, and then is it gonna be hot, and then am I gonna have to bring this and bring that, and I gotta set all this stuff up, and so those types of things create this bubble of anxiety. But I can turn it into excitement pretty quickly and pass it off as enthusiasm if I need to. If I'm talking to strangers, I'm like, hey, and then pull that off. Hopefully.
So so as a kid, did you play in the schools and churches and all that sort of thing as well?
Yeah, like I said, I tried to play wherever. I mean, wherever they would have me, I would make that gig happen. And I would play any instrument, anything I needed to do to get there. Joined all these choirs. I was in a girl choir that was so wonderful. Like I still dream about it. Sometimes I'll wake up humming, and I'm humming these songs that I sang, as a 13, 14-year-old. And we went all over the place. We did an exchange with Scotland, and we sang in these grottos in Scotland. And just that sound of singing in a choir is something that I as an adult, I miss. And I don't get to do as much as I did when I was a kid. Sang in a lot of choirs. I played some of my first gigs was I played the national anthem at the Rotary Club meetings at 7 a.m. And that was, I think I played the national anthem, and then I played like one other fun song. So I remember just, shedding the national anthem, which is not that easy to play. There's some stuff in there. Whitney Houston knows. There's some stuff in there. And so, doing that and, 7th grade, 8th grade, playing people's retirement parties and birthday parties and just trying to learn tunes and take requests and play things by ear. And this was hard. It was harder to do research then too on specific songs. It was like you had to go to the library and try to find the song. Now it's like, you just look it up on YouTube.
It's funny because speaking of songs, and y'all have a pianist, especially in jazz, y'all have to learn a bunch of songs. So many songs.
Yeah.
I'm working on a little project now that I'm with jazz, dealing with jazz standards, and I realized that some of the changes is like for a song that you thought you knew. Yeah. You see these different changes for the same song. Yeah. How do you go about and decide, okay, what's the right changes?
I still play the wrong changes. I play the wrong changes. And there's songs that I know I'm playing the wrong changes, and I'm like, well, I got to play the wrong changes. Otherwise, nobody's going to play with me.
Are you able to take liberty into creating your own harmonic thing?
To a degree. It just depends on how many people you want to piss off. Like if you're, you know what I mean? Like you can be real rude about it. Yeah. And I think we've all heard, people playing, that's rude. That is rude. Yeah. And I've definitely gotten the stink eye from bass players, especially. Like,
really?
Why are you doing that? Wow. We didn't need that. Or the sparkle. They'll give you the sparkle where they're like, I love that. Yeah. So you just got to know, like, who you're playing with and what their intentions are. And I think the thing that drives me the most insane is when I hear people accompanying singers and they're clashing with the melody.
Oh, wow.
Like, that chord might work when you're soloing.
Yeah.
Keeping the chords moving, keeping the changes moving. But it's not going to work when they're singing the melody and you're right here playing your major 9 chord and they're singing the root. That's not, that major 7 is crashing. I can't. Yeah. And it makes the singer sound bad. So it's like when it's not in service of the music. And part of that goes back to that anxiety and that feeling of needing to like do something really slick, it's like, okay, no, that's cool, but like, could you make it actually serve the storytelling part? And I think for me, playing piano, but also thinking about it as a singer, I wish I was an actor. Like I love being on stage, so like, I'm ready for the anyone wants to hire me, you know what I mean? I'm ready to be in the show, but like, thinking about selling that story. And the way that we treat standards as a community, we just bash these things about like they're, kids' toys. It's like, okay, but some of these songs have a message, they have a meaning. And I remember hearing like an up-tempo version of I'll Be Seeing You. That song comes out of like World War II and I'll Be Seeing You. And like, it's, woo, that is a sad song. And people are like, hey, da, 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 da. And you're like, why are we doing all this?
I'm probably guilty of something like that.
Oh, me too. I'm just saying this. We do this.
Well, it's funny because as an instrumentalist, I'm starting to sing a little bit.
Yeah, it's the best.
Yeah, but I never hear the words. Yeah, I always hear the melody. Yeah, so I had to force myself to listen or get the words and the message in the words. Yeah, and I find that I'm looking at, because I'm doing a lot of research on these jazz standards. It's some beautiful lyrics to some of these songs I've been playing. I was like, wow. And so that highlights the importance of learning the words and the lyrics, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that all my favorite horn players are the ones that you can hear that they know the melody specifically through the words.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you listen to like Lester Young or Ben Webster, or like
Yeah.
these, you can tell they know the melody inside out.
Yeah.
And for me, because I always learn the songs with the lyrics, I hear the lyrics. That was how I really started soloing, is hearing the lyrics as the form.
Beautiful.
Instead of, you know, I mean, yes, it's the melody, hearing the melody as the form, but hearing the lyrics as like, okay, here's the bridge. Okay, here's this. Like, that's how I started to understand eighths and sixteens and A sections and bridges, and really getting those forms down was hearing the lyrics in my head and the pacing of that. So I think it's inseparable for me when I start to think about these tunes, and I always go, you know, a little bit when I hear the melody and it's not being played in a way that reflects. It doesn't need to be, you know, perfect or whatever that even means now. These tunes have been through the laundry machine so many times, you know, like it doesn't have to be perfect. I just need it to fit the lyrics.
Yeah.
And you can hear somebody that I just absolutely worship on, you know, is Betty Carter.
Mm-hmm.
You hear Betty Carter with Jerry Allen doing Body and Soul.
Mm-hmm.
There's no, you can't go back and be like, oh, that was the melody. I would never say to one of my students here, learn the melody from this. Yeah. I wouldn't do that. Mm-hmm. I would say, here, this is where you can go. Yeah. This is where it started. Mm-hmm. And this is the masterpiece that has come out of this. Yeah. Because she's singing ahead, she's singing behind, she's singing over here. It's not even backbeat phrase, you know, it's not behind the beat. It's
she has
bars.
She has a record that says it's not about the melody.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, but still the interpretation of the lyrics and the feeling and the story is what informs that performance. And I think that, you know, the great instrumentalists are doing the same type of thing.
Yeah. You know, I think we have to tell horn players that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I'm listening to Charlie Parker when I started, you know, and I ain't listening to no words. I'm listening to the lines.
Absolutely,
and yeah. And that level of really getting deeper into the song and really the imagination that you can get with what the composer was trying to say through the words. Yeah. I think that adds another piece to it. You know what I'm saying? So
definitely. And it's having respect for singers too. I think that a lot of times instrumental, you know, we think of jazz as instrumentally heavy music. Yeah. Yeah. When in reality, it's you know, the vocal tradition of jazz music is so incredibly powerful and is actually what connects us to the broader community. Yeah. Because without knowing those tunes vocally, knowing the lyrics to those tunes, nobody's going to listen to them later. Yeah. And now, so then the separate tradition of having instrumental tunes with no lyrics that aren't coming from that form.
Like you wouldn't play Love for Sale in church.
You know? Yes, it's true. I know. I would not pick that one. But somebody might. And they wouldn't think about it. You're like, I know. Oh, I feel that like playing wedding bands and stuff and people are playing breakup songs. Yeah. Like I fall in love too easily at a wedding. You're like, no, I don't think that's a good move. Yeah. I don't think you should probably reconsider. Yeah.
Me and Mrs. Jones.
Yes, right? Why would you do that?
Let's go back to Duke Ellington.
Yes.
Okay, you were 16?
Yeah.
Was that a culture shock coming from
Oregon? Oh my God, absolutely. Absolutely. Like I did not know until I didn't know a lot of things because I was 16, first up. Yeah. But I didn't know culturally anything about Black culture. Like, I feel like this was 90s.
I would have never known that. You said...
The great state of Oregon. Yeah. The great state of Oregon. I came from, and I remember I had my history class. We had the most amazing classes at Ellington, even outside of the arts. Everything was so arts informed. And Donnelly's had a Harlem Renaissance history class. And that's what I took. You know, me at 16, coming straight from Oregon, coming from, Mormon libertarian country. Yeah. and everybody's growing weed in their backyard.
Wow.
And this was like height of grunge. It was like Nirvana apparel, which was never me anyway. I liked pink. I just kept wearing pink through the whole thing. But I came and suddenly everybody's wearing totally different clothes, acting totally different, talking totally different. Just absolutely. I mean, it was like foreign exchange student territory. I'd be like, I'm sorry, what? You want me to what?
Yeah, yeah.
So the first time somebody called me Mo, I was like, oh no, it's Amy.
Yeah, yeah.
It's A-M-Y, not Mo.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
You know what I mean? But I had this Harlem Renaissance class, and my teacher said, "Hey, so oh, you just moved here?" I was like, "Yeah, I just moved here from Portland, Oregon, and I just it's so great to be here in Washington." And he was like, "Oh no, it's DC." And I was like, "Okay." And then he was like, "Oh, Oregon didn't allow Black people in until the 20th century."
Oh wow!
I was like, "This is gonna be awkward." It's like I didn't know I was white.
Yeah.
Like that's the privilege of being white is not knowing you're white. Like that was not an identity that I had carried around. I was like, that's just me. I'm just living my life. I'm just Amy. I'm just here being white. Like I didn't think of that. I didn't think of myself as being white until I moved to DC, and I was like, oh.
And that was it was more like
white.
the chocolate city back then, right?
Yeah. I was like, I am white. And that means something. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know that really. Like that was not something that was talked about. It was like, oh, Martin Luther King Day, yay! It was not something that was talked about in my family, in my community, really, at all, until I plopped myself in the middle of Duke Ellington School of the Arts, and I was like, oh, I'm white. And everybody's talking about, oh, well, I'm biracial, and I'm Puerto Rican, and my mother is, and I'm like, I'm just white from white people. White people, they came on a boat, I think, but like they came on purpose.
Yeah.
Like they wanted to be
funny.
here. You know what I mean? Like it was just like this moment where I had to
how did you
take on an identity.
How did you handle that?
God knows. I mean, not I didn't really think about it. I just rolled with it to the degree that I was like, well, I can fit in with this. I can talk like this. I can be like this. And I think that people who knew me in high school, it's like the pictures that I had. We just had my 20th high school reunion, right? And so the pictures that people have up, it's like me with cornrows and big eyeshadow and like, some, like the big Cosby sweater and some tights and the the whole thing. I went to PG Plaza and got my picture taken in front of an airbrush Lexus. Like I was down, like a good exchange student. Yeah. I was down to do all of it to hang.
Were your friends like, you changed, girl?
I don't even think that's it. I think they would just like, I'm glad you are, you figured out who you are. Yeah. I think that everybody is going through a lot when you're a teenager. And so you just want to fit in. You just want to hang. So thankfully I had music to do that. So I didn't feel the need to pretend to be anybody else, but I had a great time. I went to church go-go's, and my mom wouldn't let me go to the real go-go's, but I went to church basement go-go's. Gotcha. And, we had go-go's at the school, and I had such a great, like, DC culture is so overwhelming, and was such a powerful thing for me. So I think that it was just beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful to be, and I'm still friends with a lot of people from high school. I still work with a lot of people from Ellington.
Who was at Ellington when you were there? Like you mentioned Herb.
Yeah, so Herb Scott and I were there at the same time, and
Ben Williams.
Ben Williams was there at the same time. Just a whole bunch of people. Chiron Irving was there, and now he's the head of the the concert band there, and also he started a marching band there.
Wow.
Aja Moore, she's working there in the school. So a lot of people who were in school with me are now administrative at the school, making stuff happen. So it's like I see this legacy. When I go to the school, I know so many people. Yeah. It feels like a homecoming every time I go there. And it's with the new building, it's just absolutely a beautiful space. And to see
a lot of wonderful musicians coming out.
The music is coming out, the actors, so many people that are being, hyper successful. Dior Ashley Brown, she's doing a hip hop caucus at the Kennedy Center. Like just thinking about all these different people and how not only are they having successful arts careers, but they're also doing advocacy work. Herb Scott Capitol Hill Jazz Foundation, and Dior Ashley Brown has the DC Music Summit, and thinking about all these things that are that's how we were raised to be. It's like, okay, you're an artist, but you're an artist as part of a community. So think about how you can continue that feeling as a professional.
Beautiful.
It was so integrated into how you live your life and how you have a career.
Were there any teachers that really impacted you at Duke Ellington?
I mean, of course, Davy Yarborough. I still work with Davy Yarborough, hang out with Davy Yarborough as much as I can. I would not be a professional musician without Davy Yarborough. I can't even imagine. I met him at my audition. I can't imagine going there without his influence and all the lessons that he gave and all of the time that he gave. I'd come at 7 a.m. And that was a long commute for me from Northeast DC. Yeah. 7 a.m, get to Ellington, and he would be there with the music on, music pumping. He'd turn it off and he'd be like, "Okay, let's go. What are we doing?" And whoever was there, it was like jazz remedial. And I wanted to be in the jazz band, and so I came in the first day of school, and I was like, let me show you what I can play. And so I played this transcription of Somewhere Over the Rainbow that I had memorized and tried to act like it was mine. Because I wanted, I want to put on my best impression. So I play this song, I'm like, and I think back about it now, and I'm like, there's no way that he didn't know that was a transcription. Like, we can tell when it's a transcription. But I thought I pulled it off. So I was like, hey. And he was like, why don't you come at 7 a.m.? And I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Okay. So, of course, I was super excited. I get up there, and he's like, okay, let's play some, what do you got? Let's play through this lead sheet. And I was like, triad, nope.
Yeah.
Triad, nope. He's like, okay, so let's work on this. And so really my first jazz piano lessons were coming from him.
Wow.
And he had the long dreadlocks, so he's standing next to the piano. The dreadlocks are smacking me.
I remember that day.
7 a.m. I'm like, okay, I'm awake.
Wow.
It was great. It was just magical, and we had such a wonderful time. And I frequently skipped my homeroom so that I could continue to be practicing and go over there at lunch and play music and jam out.
Now, do you call yourself a jazz musician, or you just I'm a musician? Because I noticed you.
That's a weighted question. It depends on the audience that I'm trying to ask for money from. So for this, I'm a jazz musician. But I think I'm obviously very interested in lots of different kinds of music, and very into chamber music and new music and creative music and improvised music, and I've studied Hindustani music. I've studied obviously lots of Western classical piano music and ensemble music, and I've written orchestra pieces and string orchestra pieces and string quartets and vocal duos that are avant-garde, for lack of a better term. I've written a lot of music and performed a lot of different types of music, and got fired from a lot of pop bands because I put nines in everything. I was like, this chord needs a 9. This is unacceptable, And so I just started calling myself a musician. I'm pretty much anything but a pop musician at this point.
You say you're anything but a pop musician?
They won't hire me. They're like, no, that's too much chord. So I'll take everything.
So would you say that at Duke Ellington is where you started really getting into jazz?
Absolutely. I think that was the spot where I started to understand what was going on. I had been into jazz since I was a kid. My mom is obsessed with Benny Goodman. So, was listening to a lot Benny Goodman, Teddy Wilson, that type of music. Live at Carnegie Hall, like just that like very powerful playing. And I heard that and heard tons of vocalists, really got into vocal jazz before I got into anything else.
Were you singing did they have a vocal jazz piece at Duke Ellington?
No, but I sang in front of the jazz band, which was the best. And we had a little
You sang
CD.
in front of the...
I did.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a total treat. And And then I would sing. We would go out all the time and play gigs, and so I would sing on the gigs. And we'd be at the Ritz-Carlton take our little bus over and play up here and over there, and this party and that party. So the gigging was actually just as important as the classroom stuff. Is that we were always performing.
Wow.
We performed at the Kennedy Center. We performed at the White House. Major places. You're on the spot. And Davey Yarbrough will be like, okay, well, we're going to start the concert with you. You just go ahead and play something.
Wow. And you was out there.
And then I was like, I had like 2 or 3 solo pieces that I really got together. But the first couple times I just bombed. I remember bombing so hard at this. We did a concert with Terrell Stafford, and amazing musician, right?
Trumpeter.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
and I was screwing around backstage, and I don't even really know how this happened, but I jumped on Herb Scott, and he was not paying attention, and we fell into a vending machine, and so I hit my jaw on the vending machine, and then I had to go out almost immediately, and then I was trying to cover it up, that I had just been screwing around and hit my leg. I was like, I'm fine. I just pulled my hair in front of this bruise that's developing. So I go out and I just bombed because I was so disoriented. I just ran and.
When you say you bombed.
Oh, I bombed. I'm playing this piece. I can't even remember the name of the piece, but it was like a stride piano thing.
Did you stop? You had to stop in the middle?
I didn't stop, but I stuttered, And
we've all had those experiences.
Yeah, and when you're by yourself,
yeah,
it's like, it's the most obvious
I've had by
thing.
myself with other musicians.
Yeah,
the whole time.
Yeah. So I'm up there and I'm like, man, there goes my scholarship.
Wow.
You know what I mean? That Terrell Stafford's never gonna have me. I think it was a Temple then. Oh man, I was like, well, I guess I won't go there.
Wow.
But the rest of the concert was fine. But that definitely gave me a lesson of don't screw around.
Yeah.
Before you're supposed to go on the stage,
Yeah.
just sit calmly.
Yeah. It's good that it happened while you're younger. You did?
Right. Because people still be doing dumb stuff. Yeah.
So after Duke Ellington, did you go right to college?
I did. Yeah.
So where'd you go after?
I went to the University of Michigan, and I wanted to go there. I auditioned everywhere because I was looking for the cold hard cash. I was like, I'm ready. Let's do this. And so I auditioned at a lot of state schools in Indiana and, all the schools with great music programs because the DC tuition assistance grant. So if you graduate from a DC public school, you can get up to, I think now it's up to $15,000 to cover the cost difference between in-state and out-of-state tuition because we don't have state schools. Okay. So it made a lot of those places a lot more accessible, especially if I got scholarships. The scholarships could cover housing and things like that, expenses. So I wanted to go to Michigan because I had met Ellen Rowe, who at the time was the only woman who was the head of a jazz department.
Okay.
And so I had met her at the Kennedy Center, and she said, why don't you come over and audition? And I got a lesson with her and was immediately like, okay, this is somebody that is extremely good at teaching. I got so much from that lesson, and she's so organized and so musical and just one of these huge musical brains. And so I immediately was like, great, I'm going to go there. I don't care if it's cold. I'm going to Michigan. And the cold...
That's the reason why you went there?
Yeah, she's the reason I went there. She recruited me. And so I, got a nice scholarship. I went out to Michigan. I spent a year there, and then they hired Jerry Allen.
Really?
Convenient.
So you were studying with Jerry Allen?
Yes. So I already knew Jerry Allen because she was the first woman I ever saw play the piano like that.
Wow.
So I saw all these great people at the Kennedy Center. I saw, and then went backstage and met them afterwards. So 16, I met Shirley Horn. 17, I saw Jerry Allen. I go backstage and I'm like, and it was solo. It was like that Dr. Billy Taylor had his solo, his piano series. So it was just.
What was your major? What was your major when you went to the University of Michigan?
Jazz piano. I think I had a fancier name. There's a fancier name for it, but I think it's jazz studies officially.
Jazz studies?
Yeah, but it was piano performance.
Now, were you gigging out in Michigan?
I didn't have a car, so I moved. I got in a house with a bass player, who's my buddy, Andrew Kratzit, phenomenal bass player and writer, and he would let me borrow his van occasionally because he was gigging all over the place. And so then I was like, okay, well, he's already gigging, so let me just get with whoever he's getting with, and then I'll get on those gigs. So I bummed a lot of rides. I got in a lot of trouble. I had equipment and all those things, and then I started dating my husband, who also had a van.
Who's your husband? Give him some love.
Dr. Matt Devendorf. And at the time, he was just regular, Matt Devendorf. We met in Michigan in combo class.
And he's he plays
he plays guitar.
Okay.
Yes, and among many other talents. Yeah. And so when we met, we started gigging together.
Okay.
Because I was like, well, we got a van now, baby. And his brother plays drums, so it was like we're in business. Yeah. I'm living with a bass player. I got the full band now. So yeah, we started gigging, and then I was taking all these one-off gigs. But whenever I took them, I had to figure out how I was going to get there. So I wanted to play in Detroit, but Detroit's 45 minutes from Ann Arbor. I wanted to play in Toledo. Toledo's an hour from Ann Arbor. So whenever I had to do those things, I had to get somebody to give me a ride. And so I remember I got a gig in Toledo, and the trombone player who I was doing the gig with, he was like, oh, yeah, I got you. I'll give you a ride. And then the day before, I was like, hey, I'm just calling to see what time you're going to come. Let me know. I got to fit my equipment in the car. I don't know what size your car is, whatever. And I had this stupid big amp at that point. I didn't even need that thing. But anyway, so I'm like, I got to fit my equipment in your car. And he was like, oh, my wife says I can't give you a ride. She doesn't want me riding in the car with you.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And he was like, yeah, she looked you up. And at that point, I had a website.
Why'd she say that?
At that point, I had a website. Can I tell you about my website? And then maybe that'll answer the question. Okay. I had a website, and my dad took all my promo pictures, and he's a great photographer. And so I have this picture, and I'm in this little red dress, and I'm 19.
I see.
I'm in this little red dress, and I got my little haircut, and I've got red heels on, and I'm like,
so she like,
sell it.
Yeah.
Get me a gig. I'm cute. And apparently she looked at my website and was like, oh no, I don't think this white woman with these shoes.
We're not having this.
She was like, no, you will not be, this Jezebel will not be allowed in your car. And all my songs, I was doing like hardcore Diana Krall sex appeal, And to me, it was Shirley Horn sex appeal. It was never Diana Krall sex appeal. And so I'm like, everything's kind of slow. Everything on my website was like, alone, together.
Yeah.
Behind, recorded at 2 a.m. at the University of Michigan studio. You know what I mean? That was the vibe I was putting out. So, so I had to bum another ride. The sax player hooked me up. So,
wow.
Thank God. But he had to come from Detroit all the way to Ann Arbor and then go down to Toledo. It was rough. So I had occasionally some hiccups, but I have fun gigging in Michigan, and I still like to play up there.
Wow. Yeah. So what'd you do after you graduated?
Ooh, just had complete breakdown, complete panic attack.
Really?
No, I'm kidding. I think a lot of people finish music school and then they're like, what is this? But I was doing all right. I was gigging back in DC.
You came back to DC?
I did. I came straight back. I moved into my parents' basement, and I was like, I'll be here until.
Did Matt come too?
He did.
Okay.
We were in the basement living in sin. And
you are funny.
It was great.
Yeah.
We had a great time. It was legally unrentable. The ceiling was really low, but it was delightful.
Yeah.
And we made it happen. He was working at a furniture store. He was hauling all this furniture around, and then he finally got a teaching job. And so he started teaching music at Levine, and then I was just hustling anything all over the place. I had my little picture, my little red dress with a CD that was on it, and I put it in a little package, and I had a write-up bio, and it was like, Amy K Bormet is sexy, sassy, delightful, sultry vocals, piano music, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
And then I took it to all these restaurants. And so I was just hustling. It was hustling. You know, I make $75, $80
Mm-hmm.
for, you know, per person.
Mm-hmm.
Playing, like 8th Street had just started redeveloping because I graduated 2002. So I started playing like that first wave of restaurants on 8th Street that all closed. I don't blame it on me. I did a great job. But they were all desperate to get people to come to 8th Street. So I started playing at all these restaurants.
Yeah, I remember. That's before it was built up. Yeah.
Oh, they were all, loaded, first floor restaurants.
Yeah.
I played at Fish Teas, great Jamaican restaurant. I played at this place, Pap and Petey's, awful name. And the air conditioner would drip on my head as we're playing the gig. You know, $80. That was the move. $80, $100. You know, once it got going.
Yeah.
And it didn't last.
Now, when did you? Didn't you go to Howard?
I did. Yeah.
You went to get your master's.
I did. So we met. I'm sorry. I graduated 2006 from college. So we met probably around then, 2006, 2007, because I started playing HR. I was playing HR. Tuesday, Wednesday. Remember when they had the Tuesday jam? That's when HR was.
Yeah.
It was like the peak HR. I hit their peak HR 57 on 14th Street, and so I played with Luis Five on Tuesday night, and Davante on Wednesday night, and Zach Grady on Thursday night.
Zach Warm Daddy Grady.
with the glasses on. We're ready. I ate those beans and rice every night.
Yeah. And the chicken.
Yep. I didn't eat chicken, so I'm not a chicken eater. Yeah. Unfortunately, just sitting beans, and I had put so much hot sauce on there.
You don't know what you missed.
I clearly missed the winning food there because the beans and rice weren't anything special, but the hot sauce, you know, and just dump that on, keep me awake. So I played. That was like my hang, you know. That's where I met everybody. So I first went down there in 2006 in the summer, and then got hired. And then played all the weekend dates too when people couldn't, people come in from out of town. So I got to play, just music. Yeah. Immediately. Yeah. And that was, started I think like $60 a night, and then was $75 a night. And there's a whole story in there about I think I was getting paid less than other people were getting paid. Gotcha. Yeah. But I didn't know because I was dumb and I didn't ask. That's why I always ask everybody now when I'm on a gig. I'm like, so how much you get paid though? Yeah. I'm just checking. When I'm a sideman, I'm like, so how much you making now? I was like, man, I can't believe this gig is only. Yeah. Oh, okay. So like that kind of thing. But it was fun. We had such a good time, and everybody came through all the time. We played the weekends. Yeah, it was wonderful. We do like a Friday, Saturday. Yeah. Everybody was coming out. It was chaos. It was BYOB.
Were you going to the jam sessions as well?
Oh, yeah. I did the jam sessions Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Okay, yeah. I mean, it was, that's like 4-hour sessions.
But they had some other jam sessions around town.
Oh, yeah. So after each session, especially like, I remember Thursdays in particular, we would go as en masse. Everybody, because Tuesday was okay and Wednesday was okay. By the time we got to Thursday, people are coming out. So en masse, when HR closed, we would walk up the street and go to U Street. Yeah. So we went to Nima, Cafe Nima, and Utopia. That was like, Chojo's. Yeah. And then depending on how many beverages you'd imbibed and how enthusiastic you were about the rest of your evening and the hang that you had developed, you would just continue up to Columbia Station. So I played Columbia Station. I would play the Saturday sessions. Peter Edelman was like, I can't play all these. I'm going to need somebody else to do this. So I would cover for him, and it would be like 4 p.m. Because he had the workshop 4 to 8. So I'd be at Columbia Station 4 until 2 a.m.
That's called you was paying them dues.
I was. Yeah. I really was. And Butch Warren was playing bass down there. So I got to play with Butch Warren, and that was magical. Eric Allen was playing drums. Wow. It was a band.
It's funny because DC is going through so many like changes since I've been here. Yeah. It's just a different vibe. Different people come in town. Yeah. It becomes just something, and it's always changing. Yeah. Yeah. But so during that period, you decided to go and get your master's.
Well, kinda. I wasn't really my decision.
Oh, okay. Who made you go get your master's?
Fred Irby made me go get my master's.
Really?
Yes, because I went up to Howard University for the Howard Jazz Festival, and I played with Jessica Boykin Settles, my second true love. Yes. I just love her. And she is phenomenal, and also has been somebody who's been with me since the beginning. And she introduced me to Fred Irby, and I played at the thing, and he was like, "Well, why don't you come here for grad school?" And this was in, I don't know, May. And he was like, and I was like, maybe, a couple years, maybe I'll think about it, whatever. And it had been 2 years since I'd been in school, and I was having a great time. I was gigging, I was causing trouble, I was going up to New York, losing all my money, going back to the basement, just living it up. And so he was like, oh, no, okay, great, yeah. So in August, and I was like, okay. So I just went to Howard, and he hooked me up with the teaching group piano at the school. So, I had grad school paid for.
Wow.
And then when I got there, he was like, oh, I got all these gigs. I got all these gigs for you.
Yeah.
Which you and I had done many of those.
He's still giving me gigs.
I know. I'm like, I still take those gigs. I made so much money in grad school because he was always looking out for me. And he continues to look out for me. And he's somebody that, he made sure that I knew about Betty Carter Jazz Ahead. So I got into Betty Carter Jazz Ahead, and then they had a program, Mary Lou Williams Emerging Artist Program. So he was like, you need to do this.
It's funny. I was in the first Betty Carter Jazz.
What?
Yep, New York, the very first one.
In New York?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of bad cats.
I bet.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah.
And
That's
that came
cool.
through. Betty, she come to Howard.
Yeah.
No, I think Jerry Allen Betty came to Howard.
Yeah.
And we played for her. And I think she,
wow.
I got in it. Incredible experience.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
So were you in did you play for any of the ensembles?
Yeah,
like
I played in all the things.
You was in a jazz ensemble?
Yeah, so we did records every year, and then we had a jazz tet with Brent Burkhead and Davante McCoy and Elijah Ballbed and Corinne Chapdelaine and Josh Walker and CV Dashiell. We had a good time. We had a good time.
Yeah.
And so we made a little record there, and then the big band records, and then I also was lucky enough that I got to write some music for Afro Blue, and they, recorded my songs and sang my music, and so I got to play on those records and
cool.
Do some gigs with them out of town. And
who were you studying? When you said
Covington, Charles Covington.
Okay,
that was wild.
Yeah,
that. You already know.
Jerry Allen wasn't there when you
No, Jerry was at Michigan.
Okay,
when I was an undergrad.
She taught at Howard for a minute.
She did. That was before Michigan. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So because I know Janelle Gill studied with Jerry when she was at Howard. So I was with Charles Covington, which was wild in so many ways.
Yeah.
And but one of the things that he did that really sticks with me is that I thought I could play fast before I met that man.
Yeah.
I thought I could play fast, and I was like, I'm playing AH-57. I'm just then I'm like, oh no, it's all bullshit. Like he started playing fast, and I was like, oh, that's fast.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I started, learning some of the things that he was doing that were so specific to, because I had transcribed horn players. I had transcribed some piano players, but I loved, I love melodic lines. I love horn players. And so I had, spent a lot of time doing that. And finally I was like, watching Charles Covington play and seeing the shapes that he's making with his hands gave me so many ideas for textural things to do on the piano. So that was fascinating because studying with Ellen Rowe, studying with Jerry Allen, and then studying with Charles Covington, those were all very different experiences.
Who was the first one?
Ellen Rowe at University of Michigan. Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. She's very like, Bill Dobbins, very early jazz ed, very specific about the way that everything has a plan.
Yeah.
There's a plan, and she's gonna give you 12-step plan to not sounding like garbage. And here's the plan, and we're gonna do all these things. So she really foundationally covered all the bases.
Yeah.
And then I got with Jerry Allen, and Jerry Allen was what I wanted from Jerry Allen. I was like, so what happened when you played with Ornette Coleman?
Yeah.
Tell me about harmonics. And she was
yeah.
like, you need to practice this right here.
Yeah,
and I was like, but what about? And she was like, you need to do this. So it was like that. And then when I finally got to Charles Covington, I had been gigging so much, and so it wasn't like I needed to learn fundamentals anymore. I just wanted to create chaos when I was playing, and he creates some just beautiful chaos. Everything the energy is through the roof, and that's something that Jerry did too. but in a completely different way.
Yeah.
Hers is like a simmering boil, and it's
Yeah.
popping out at
Yeah.
you, and and his was just like whack you upside the head, So it was a good compliment of people that that I studied with in college.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Washington Women in Jazz Festival.
Woo!
What was your inspiration for creating the Washington Women in Jazz Festival?
Yes. So, I did Betty Carter Jazz Ahead, and I was the only woman instrumentalist.
Wow.
And
You got to do something about this.
that wasn't great. That was not.
Yeah.
That was not my favorite.
Yeah.
And some things were said to me that were not encouraging. About me as a person, like not even about my playing, just about me as a person, like about like why are you doing, So I had a kind of I don't want to say traumatic time because that seems like a higher level, but I did not have a great time.
Gotcha.
And I should have had a fantastic time. And I know so many people who have done these type of this is like the Jazz Olympics, Yeah. Like this is when you're supposed to meet people and get those gigs and get those connections, and like this is it. You're an elite jazz youth at this point. And so I went straight into that. 2 months later did the Mary Lou Williams Emerging Artist at the Kennedy Center, which was part of the Mary Lou Williams Jazz Festival that Dr. Billy Taylor started. So got to hang out with Billy Taylor, and I got to hang out with him throughout high school and knew him, but this was intense. We really got to hang out, and then suddenly I was surrounded by women. Terry Lynn Carrington was there, listening to my music. Joanne Brackeen was there. Talk about wild piano player. Listening to my music, playing through my compositions.
Wow.
I mean, it was a really powerful experience. And then I got to perform at the Mary Lou Williams Jazz Festival. And while I was there, I'm backstage, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, man, there's a lot of women playing music. I don't know any of these people. Like, what is happening? Like, what?
Yeah.
and my mind was just blown. And I think coming from Howard and seeing what can happen when you take a part of your identity that a lot of times people disregard, coming from HBCU and seeing that powerful community that's made, when you remove a lot of the discrimination, when you remove a lot of the baggage that comes with your identity. I was very eager, and being with Afro Blue, which is like, us a lot of great women in that group. Christy Dashiell was my roommate at Betty Carter Jazz Ahead, and she was listening to me like moan the whole time. Like with just being around really incredible women musicians, and then going into Mary Lou Williams Jazz Festival, all these amazing music, Lee Pilser's there and Jen Krupa's there, and I was like, but y'all live in town. Yeah. Like where have I
where
never
been?
I played 4 to 5 nights a week at 857 and nobody came. Yeah. It was all dudes at the jam session.
Yeah.
Like wait a minute. And I started just really thinking about how much of a problem it was that I had been gigging heavily every night, 6 nights, 7 nights a week in DC, and didn't know the women that were on the scene. So that was sort of the beginning, was a way to create a network of women musicians. And so when I started out, I paired a vocalist with an instrumentalist, a horn player. So I'd have a front line of 2 women, and then my trio with Corinne Chapdelaine, who I had just graduated from Howard with. And then Lydia Lewis, who was from West Virginia and drummer. And so we would play behind these 2 featured artists. And so it was just a great way to introduce people to each other and to play some tunes and to see what was happening. And I didn't have, any idea what was going to happen. So I put these gigs together, and Kelly at Twins, I pitched it to her, and I was like, I want 5 days at Twins, and I'm going to bring in women musicians. We're going to have a Women in Jazz Festival. And I had done Women in Jazz events I'd done the Mary Lou Williams thing, but even before that, I had done, concerts that people had put together. Mostly dudes had put together a concert and been like, it's a women in jazz concert. But it wasn't thought through. And it was kind of like they didn't really promote it. And then when they did, it just felt gimmicky. It didn't feel like a band. It didn't feel like it was highlighting anybody. It just kind of felt like we found a bunch of women and put them in a band. And you're like, why? Yeah. But why though? Like, what's the music gonna be? And so I really at the forefront was like, I want original compositions. I want people to be playing their tunes. And I want it to be very clear because there's nothing that, to me, describes somebody more than the music that they're writing. So I said, let's all learn, everybody's original tunes, everybody's original arrangements, everybody, bring some stuff. We're not just going to come and be like, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. You know what I mean? Like, we got to do something that's compelling. So I think people were attracted to it because the women in this scene specifically have been overlooked and not really... a lot of time hadn't been spent on thinking about how many great women musicians there are in DC. So it started there. It started at Twins. And that was the same year a lot of things started, 2011. Bohemian Caverns Jazz Orchestra, every Monday night I was playing there. So I brought that into the festival. We would bring down Brad Lindian we'd pick out a woman who has her own charts, has her own big band music, and feature her as a soloist. So we had a bunch of great big band collaborations. And it started to turn into this situation where I had a great excuse to collaborate with phenomenal musicians. So I would bring Allison Miller and Mary Halverson and Faye Victor and just all these incredible musicians into town. And then, of course, when I moved to LA, I started recruiting women from there, and I bring them in here. And so we'd have these collaborations so that when Lee Pilzer, who's been playing on the festival every single year, phenomenal, when she comes to LA, she's like, oh yeah, I already know this. I already know these people. I already know this drummer. Wow. Like we play together. We play together in DC. So then we got a gig in LA. So it was about creating that network within the city and then expanding beyond that. We went to Sweden and we did an exchange with Women in Jazz Sweden. Wow. So we spent 2 weeks in Sweden with my band. I had a 6-piece band. We hung out over there and then they came over here and played at the Swedish Embassy in Georgetown and did workshops and hung out with students. And it was just like, it's been a great way for me to experiment on how I can be a better collaborator. Yeah. And how I can work with people who I have never met, but I can reach out and be like, hey, I have this structure in place and I would like to invite you to come. Yeah. We're really good. Like, come play with DC Women and see how good we are. And then, people have gone to Sweden without me. You know what I mean? Like, I've gone to Sweden 3 times, but like, people go over there and they have people to play with. They have people who will hook them up with gigs. And so it's about creating that networking between women musicians that I think exists for the majority of male musicians, and that a lot of times for women musicians is there's just very small hurdles to get over. Like, great, I want to come to New York, but I don't want to sleep on your couch, strange man. You know what I mean? Like it's nice to play with you. Yeah. But like, I don't know you like that. You know what I mean? Like being able to have this this network of people has been crucial to me developing my career too, and figuring out how to be a collaborator, how to make music with people, how to make records with people, how to produce other people's records. Like, all those things have come out of this initial need to collaborate beyond just the gig one night. Yeah. Beyond just what we do on stage anyway.
So did you get assistance as you was developing this thing? Like, was it a one-woman thing initially, and then did you get a team? I mean, how did...
So...
were you paying for everything?
I continue to fund it myself.
Oh, wow.
Completely. So, and part of that is that I'm a control freak, and I've accepted it. And that I want to do something different every time. So I fund it myself. I do all the grant writing myself. I've gotten some small grants. I'm hoping to just keep getting bigger and bigger grants for Washington Women in Jazz. I have had a ton of amazing people that have been volunteering in terms of in pretty much every possible way. I have volunteer photographers, volunteer videographers. I've done a lot of bartering especially at the beginning. And now, thankfully, I have a little bit more money because I'm a little more grown. But, you know, when I started, I was 26. I didn't have a penny. So I put on Twitter,
but you had the audacity.
Yeah, I did.
Like, you believed that you could do it.
Sure. I mean, I didn't think I couldn't.
Wow.
You know what I mean? It's like the opposite. It's like nobody... I was like, I had no idea what it entailed.
Yeah.
And it continues to evolve.
Yeah.
So that every year I'm like, well, there's something here where I don't know what's going to happen. And that's the exciting part for me. That's the exhilarating, you know, the climbing the cliff.
Yeah.
That feeling is that every year there's something that I haven't done before. So when I started, I was like, yeah, this will be easy. I'll just, you know, slap some stuff on Facebook and some people are going to come out. And then it was packed. And I was like, well, I nailed it. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then after a couple of years, people, you know, I had to really start trying because I had bigger venues. It's like, okay, you can fill Twins, it's 80 people. Yeah. But you want to fill, you know, a 500-person theater, you're going to need to work a little bit harder and you're going to need to think outside the box. So so that's been really fun too, because it's helped me learn how to promote things. It's helped me learn how to communicate. Does
your husband assist you in all this stuff?
He does.
Say, get out the way.
He does a lot of things. I mean, just hauling stuff, number one. Hauling stuff. It's a lot of stuff people don't know. It's a lot of stuff. This poor man, you know, it's like we got the sign, we got the box of T-shirts, the stuff is heavy. We got T-shirts, we got fanny packs, we got sunglasses, we got, you know, clipboards. And now, you know, now I got so many things. And so just hauling stuff. He also is an amazing sound engineer. So, you know, I brought him into so many spaces that they say they have sound.
Gotcha.
They don't mean it. You know what I mean? They're like, it's fine. I'm like, is it? You know, so he's done a lot of different things. Graphic design, he's been somebody that I can rely on to just be like, well, what do you think about this? Like as a sounding board, that has been very helpful. So now I'm developing more and more relationships, and I've been able to hire people to help me out. But I don't, I haven't done the formality of making it into a nonprofit, the formality of making a board, all of those things that I could do to potentially find more funding. I haven't done those because I don't want it to be huge. I don't want it to be like, I'm not trying to compete with DC Jazz Festival. I'm not trying to bring in Esperanza Spalding. I love Esperanza Spalding. I love to bring Esperanza, call me. But that's not my goal, is to have this type of epic event. I want it to be a local event. People talk bad about the word local, but I want it to be local. I want it to feel tight-knit, like a community and cozy.
It's going to grow and grow and grow.
I know. It keeps getting bigger, and I'm fine with that. But it feels more organic this way than it does if I got a board and I started fundraising and I spent all this time on fundraising and trying to do this and trying to do that.
It becomes something else.
Yeah. I mean, at the core of it, I want to promote things that I'm 100% behind.
Who are some of the artists that you've had?
So Jerry Allen. I had Jerry Allen do a solo show. That was early on, and I called her up and was like, "Can you play that?" I think that was the third year of the festival. She played solo, and it was so good. And I just sobbed like the whole show. I was just sitting in the back crying like,
wow.
I made a thing and Jerry Allen's at it.
Yeah.
She sounds so good. She supports me. You know, it's just
beautiful.
Oh man, that was heavy. And I've had my other piano teacher, Ellen Rowe from Michigan. She came and played with Ingrid Jensen and Marianne McSweeney, bass player. And we had our Swedish exchange. So I had this wonderful musician, Biggi Vinkeloe, who I've now made 2 records with. And I'm putting her 3rd record out on my record label that she did with another artist that performed on Washington Women in Jazz, Amy Reed, who's a sound noise guitar player. They recorded. So Biggi Vinkeloe has performed quite a few times, and we've developed a really great relationship and collaboration. And I also had Faye Victor, who's one of my top singers in existence. She's an incredible singer, incredible composer, and her improvising is next level. It's like a legacy. It feels like Betty Carter is an era, and then there's we're moving into the Faye Victor era, and just criminally under recognized because she's a genius, and an incredible educator too, an improviser. And so I've had her a few times come and perform with us. We've had a lot of people. Part of the festival, I have an emerging artist showcase. So I bring college students from all over come and perform at the festival. And that's been really awesome. So now, because I've been doing it for, this is going to be the 14th one.
You had 14?
14 will be this next one,
Wow.
2024. Yeah.
And I heard that
Yeah.
when you moved to California, you would come back and continue. And continue.
I didn't tell anybody. That's the thing. And then people in California don't know I'm here. You know what I mean? No one needs to know where I am. I'm available
We won't let them know.
I'm available for good money. You know what I mean? Fly me out, buy me some. Yeah. I feel like that's something too that is only capable in the current age that we're in.
Wow.
And now the pandemic has eroded even more where people are actually living and who their actual audience is.
So you enjoy traveling?
Yeah, I love traveling. I love playing music all over. Yeah. And I love going new places. And then when you get to a new place, being a musician, you find other musicians and you're immediately in. Yeah. You're in. They're like, oh, you play? Okay, great, let's play something. No, it doesn't matter where I've played, I've played jazz standards in India and New Delhi. Wow. And I've played, at festivals in Asia and went to Brazil and South America, played with people. Just anywhere you go, you can play music. The
universal language.
And even if it's not standards, you can still come up with something.
Yes.
So that's been really fun. I just went this last weekend. My family friend opened a bluegrass music store.
Oh wow.
In Waynesboro, Virginia, and so we went out there and Matt, my husband, just sat down with the bass and just started playing bluegrass. And I was like, I didn't know you knew some bluegrass. He was like, I don't know. It's like, so we just go, go wherever the music is. Wow. And that's what I feel like makes traveling so much more fun, is because you immediately have friends. You immediately have people who, are interested in what you're interested in. You have stuff to talk about and stories to tell each other about.
No doubt.
All of it. Yeah.
Who are some of the local artists that you've had? Some of the local women artists that
you've
had?
Oh, man. My ride or dies are like this. I have a great list of people. So, of course, Dr. Lee Pilzer. That's my buddy.
Wonderful.
Day one.
Yes, wonderful.
Whew, she's amazing. And this past year we did a big band project together. So I've been applying for more funding for that. So I'm looking out for dollars so we can have another big band concert, but of her music and my music, and some other great women artists in DC. So it was all women composers for this big band. And then Jessica Boykin-Settles, soon to be Dr. Jessica Boykin-Settles. She's been just incredible, and also has shepherded a lot of people into the Emerging Artist Showcase from Howard University. Sarah Hughes, super saxophonist, super creative person. She traveled to Sweden with me, and is just somebody that, I have a great picture of her playing on top of a cliff with Biggi Vinkeloe, my Swedish friend, and there they are, and the sun is setting, and they're just improvising it, and that just, to me, is like Sarah Hughes in a nutshell. She's ready to play music and just constantly creative and constantly coming up with new ideas, and very inspirational to me. I have Corinne Chapdelaine, who was there at the very beginning, was with me at Howard. Yes, just great bass player, super, just can play any style, anything, read anything, play anything by ear. She's just phenomenal. I just went to Montreal and I saw her, and we were at the Montreal Jazz Festival, and she still knows, everybody in Montreal still knows her. Wow. So she hasn't lived up there in a decade, and they're like, oh, it's Corinne. Hey. I'm like, oh, you're famous.
Yeah.
Okay. She's amazing. So she's traveled with me, and I took her and Angel Bethay, a great drummer. Angel's somebody that was in the Emerging Artist Showcase, and I've known since she was 14. And we traveled, the three of us, to St. Croix and did a residency for a couple of weeks. And just having the two of them, I realized what amazing musicians they are. And we're playing everywhere. We're going to all these jam sessions, doing all this stuff. And Angel, we go to this open mic, and Angel sits down behind the drums, and they start calling these Caribbean tunes, all these different genres, all these different. She knows all the tunes.
Wow.
She knows all the feels. And I love seeing people's faces melt You know what I
Yeah.
mean? 'Cause she gets behind the drums
Yeah.
and so so that's been really my core of people who've been on the
Okay.
festival over now at this point 14 years and have
Wow.
been lead collaborators and bringing other people in
Yes.
to the festival and bringing artists to Lee brings great artists from Diva and we played last year. She had a 7-piece band with all these incredible musicians, Amy Shook and Sherry Miracle, and just making all of this music happen with this core of people is the dream that I set out from the beginning. I was like, oh,
yes,
I get to work with these women and they're coming up with creative new ideas all the
now,
time.
let me ask you a question. Do y'all get along?
I feel like we do.
Okay.
I am generally pretty, I hope, pretty easy to get along with, but I haven't had a huge amount of collisions because so many of these concerts are unique events. They're not like, a traveling band that's been together forever. It's people are so excited about making the music. And I really push for original music and new music and being able to spotlight different people. So hopefully it feels like everybody's getting their shine, getting their moment. And it doesn't feel like, here's Amy telling me what to do again.
Yeah, gotcha.
So, but maybe they say that behind my back. I don't know. You're gonna have to ask them. I'm the boss, so
I'm sure
I feel like it's fine.
I'm sure they love you.
They're nice to me. I write the checks. You know what I mean?
Yeah. All right.
Hopefully, they're not mean to each other.
Let's talk about you as a composer.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Would you say you have an eclectic kind of perspective when it comes to composing, or how would you describe your music as a composer?
That's a really hard question because I go all over the place.
Okay.
I am like Renaissance man vibes. Like I'm just ready. It's the same as the rest of my life. I'm ready to go over here for this and go over here for this. I don't believe in these boundaries. I don't believe in these restrictions.
Yeah.
So I've been just so happy to be able to do some commissions lately, which is like I'd love to do more of when people ask me like, oh, I need you to write something for my string orchestra. And I'm like, yes. So then starting to think about parameters is like the best for me because the parameter is a string orchestra, but the parameter is not classical music. The parameter is not jazz music. The parameter is not a genre. It's just a matter of how many instruments.
Wow.
And what type of instruments. So that already gives me a lot of ideas because I like to, I just wrote an a cappella vocal piece over the summer and it was a commission and I put a lot of vocal percussion into it. And it was an opera singer, a more classical singer. And she loved it, So like, I think, but other people, listening to it was in a workshop and other people listening to it in the workshop were a little bit like, that was unexpected, like, why did you do that? I'm like, because it sounds cool. Like, have you heard Bobby McFerrin?
Yeah.
Like, it's real fun. But you just thinking about the instrument versus thinking about the genre is much more interesting to me. And it feels like if I want to, I'm like, oh, I'm going to write Antonio a piece. Like, I'm going to write something that is not typically played on the saxophone.
Yeah.
Like, what can I do to stretch the idea of what this saxophone should be sounding like and playing like? So creating sounds, but also like lines that you would hear on a harp only on the, like it could be anything. So I love that idea of crossing, like Ghostbusters, crossing the streams.
Yeah. So where do you get your inspiration? What inspires you?
I think it's the people that I'm writing for is my number one inspiration. Is like, if I'm at home, a lot of times I'm writing for myself, right? Especially during the pandemic, I was writing for myself all the time because I was like, well, I made a solo record during the pandemic. I wrote probably 250 tunes during the last couple years. Yeah, for myself. And they're not all good, but I did it. So every day I get up and I'd be like, oh, I'll write myself another tune today. And a lot of them are like emotive sad girl tunes,
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm alone.
And when you write, you also write lyrics as well.
Yeah. So I love to write lyrics.
Yeah.
I love to, I'll do whatever it takes. Whatever needs to happen.
Have you ever had writer's block?
No. I'm sorry. Should I say yes? Because that sound more humble.
Wait. Because I go through periods where stuff is flowing.
Yeah.
And then like I'm in the pit now. I mean, ain't nothing. I mean, it's like it's nothing because my mind, I guess, is not in that zone.
No, you need to have involuntary deadlines. Like you create them yourself. So for me, I do a lot of writing with accountability. So I'll have friends on Zoom, and we'll get on. Hey, how are you doing? Great, doing great. What are you going to write about today? This, and then we'll go off mute, and then we'll just have the other person to look at. The other person's working, and then I'm working, and then an hour later we come back and we play whatever we wrote.
Really?
And then you're in trouble because if you dicked around and you went to the kitchen and you made a sandwich and then you cleaned did the laundry.
These are
and stuff
composers
like
that you do this with?
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
And it's great. And then you come back and you say, oh, cool. And it's, it's never any negative feedback.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's cool. And then sometimes they'll give me ideas and I'll give them ideas and about where to take it, and you can take it or leave it, and that's been huge for me. So I have this great group of people that I do that with. And that's what you need. You need it's like working out. It's like anything else. You need an accountability buddy because nobody's just going to do it.
Yeah.
and like, I mean, I do my best to just get up and do it, but I'm always doing it with an intention of sharing it with somebody. So even if that's just like the internet, like just getting on and being like, okay, I'm going to put this song on Instagram or do whatever. I'm going to go on Instagram Live and sing it for somebody and then it's gone, like as long as there is an artificial deadline, that's when we work the best.
Wow.
So, thinking about, okay, what if, and I've done experiments with thinking about how my brain is feeling. Like, okay, today I really got nothing. So I'm gonna put this timer on for 5 minutes and I'm gonna write something. Like no, because the editing is what stops you. The editing is what creates problems. And that's what creates writer's block. And I've done my best, Ernest Hemingway, write drunk, edit sober. Like I've done my best to act like a drunk without needing to buy any alcohol because I can't afford it. You know what I mean? That's too much money on my body, on the whole thing. And so I, think about what if I'm just writing and I'm not being critical? Like, okay, and as soon as I hear a little voice being like, this is cheesy, this is garbage, this is corny, what are you doing? This is dumb. Why would you do that? This isn't going to work. That's not going to go anywhere. That's not going anywhere. That's bored. All those voices, I'm just like... Like just keep playing.
Yeah.
And so that's been really fun for me. And then if I get, I have like different crutches that I use when I'm writing that I know work. So the timer is one of them. Another one that works really well for me is creating like a sonic texture, like going into Logic and coming up. They'll let you put the drums in, putting a loop on. Then finding recordings of other people playing. Playing without piano or just drum recordings. So listen to like gamelan music or there's a lot of great like solo drum records and things like that. Thinking about, okay, how can I have this, play over this until I come up with something interesting enough that I can take it away.
Wow.
And always writing it down, like forcing myself to write it down. And because if you just put it on your phone, unless you're in a hurry or you have an excuse like that, it's gone forever. For me, at least, because I have like, I don't know, I delete my phone when I'm dead. You know what I mean? Because it's like thousands of voice memos. So I got to write it down.
So what is that feeling like? You say you've been commissioned to write pieces.
Yeah.
What are some of the venues you've written for? And then what is the feeling when you're sitting back hearing your music?
It's just the best. It really is the best because... I love performing. I love performing my own music. I love hearing people play my music when I'm playing with them. But stepping away and just listening to this sound that was just here and hearing that is the most rewarding thing. And it's something that I have to keep in mind as I'm going through the editing because the editing is always a slog for me. I don't have writer's block. It's not the writing. It's the editing.
It's the editing. Okay.
That's the slog.
Gotcha.
So I'm like, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
I don't want to edit this. I don't want to put these parts together. I don't want to do. And that's why I have to keep the focus of like, okay, this is. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and it's going to be this concert and this recital, and I'm, or this, handing over this piece to somebody and hearing them play it.
Yeah. Have you ever written for the larger orchestra?
Yeah. So I wrote for Capital City Symphony. We did a concert.
Really?
Yeah, we did a concert for Washington Women in Jazz, and I had 3 pieces that I wrote. And then on the concert, Sarah Hughes also did an arrangement of Peter and the Wolf that was absolutely bonkers, with Kiana Faircloth narrating. I had these 3 pieces. One of them was a Gwendolyn Brooks poem. 2 of them were Gwendolyn Brooks poems. And then, oh no, that's a lie. One was a Gwendolyn Brooks poem, great poet from Chicago, and then called Progress. That was like an anti-war piece. And then another one was I made the orchestra improvise and they hated me forever. But I gave them a lot of parameters. And so it was kind of this textural piece. And then the third one was a ghost story that I wrote about this ship that was found in the desert, this big sailing ship found in the desert in California. Like, how did that get there? So I wrote a ghost story about that, and it had all these spooky sounds. So those pieces that was an absolute treat to be able to do that, and have this access to all this sound.
Wow, that must be
so good. And I was lucky enough that before I did that, and I think the reason that I was attracted and made that project happen was because I did the Jazz Composers Orchestra Institute, which was at UCLA, and they had a program where it was American Composers Orchestra, which does a lot of commissioning work for new orchestral pieces. And so they were like, oh, there's all these jazz musicians that are writing larger pieces. We should have this institute where we can talk about kind of the specific issues of the sounds that I'm hearing not translating well to orchestra, or like wanting to create, like you can't, it's not going to go well. And so they had, it was great. They had an ensemble there and you got to write things and work out how to write with different instruments. And, I learned more about the bassoon than I'm ever going to need to know. And like writing out classical percussion, like all these very nitpicky things, like very detail oriented things that I think as jazz musicians, we're like, a lot of times we're like, just make something, And so to have all those details in there was really, that's what got me a little bit high on the idea of, okay, now I want to write some pieces for my...
I'm ready now. Ready
for
y'all
I was
now.
like, I'm ready for this. You know what I mean? So I had my band and then I had with the full orchestra. So it was really fun. Yeah.
All right. Now we got to talk about you as a band leader.
Uh-oh.
You seem to have a few different bands.
Too many bands.
Yeah, I mean,
somebody needs to fire these people.
It has some interesting names. So, can you first tell us the names of your bands?
Okay. Current bands. Let's go with bands that have played in the last 6 months.
Okay.
Because otherwise it just goes goes down a rabbit hole forever. I love to play with people and I love to name things.
Yeah.
So I'm ready. I have a list on my phone that's like, and sometimes it'll get, every day I'm like, oh yeah, that'd be great. That'd be a great band name. So right now, I have just my trio, Amy K Bormet Trio, with me and Corinne Chapdelaine and Angel Bethea, and we've been doing a lot of really fun stuff. And we went to St. Croix, and we do Washington Women in Jazz. All the shows is my backing band.
Okay.
For if we have guest artists that come. And then I have expansion packs, if you will.
Okay. Let's hear some of the expansion packs
for the Amy K Bormet Trio. And I'm still in development for the name.
Okay.
But now I have backup singers.
Oh, wow.
Which I was thinking about calling the Bormets with an extra T.
The Bormets?
Yeah, Amy and the Bormets.
Yeah.
And I was like, that seems kind of egotistical, but, Ray did it, so I feel like.
Yeah.
So now I have these amazing backup vocals, and to call them backup vocals is also inaccurate because they're very much like a horn section. And I've been working with this amazing vocalist and producer and educator, Taylor Young, who is teaching at Duke Ellington School of the Arts and is also a Howard University graduate and has worked with me a lot at Washington Jazz Arts Institute. She wrote these vocal arrangements to tunes that I have, songs with lyrics, and they are covering all these bases of being backup vocals that are supporting me, but also being a horn section, super creative lines that she's making, and really emotionally expanding the music to this next level. So that's a newer thing that doesn't have a name yet.
Okay.
So right now it's Amy and the Bormets.
The Bormets.
And then and then I have a group called No Trick Pony.
No Trick Pony.
No Trick Pony.
Is there
no tricks?
How'd you come up with? I mean, is there?
Well, there's one trick pony.
Oh, say no trick. Okay.
We've got no tricks. So I think that there's this intention. A lot of times, for me, this is what the name means, and I don't know if they know this or not, but they'll know now. It's with Keith Butler Jr. on the drums and Brian Settles on the saxophone. And so we do a lot of, for lack of a better word, expansive improvising, creative music.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's little threads of songs that we go in and out of, but I'll have a list of songs, and Keith contributes songs as well. And so we will go, like, maybe we'll do this and then this and this and this, but there's not it's not super strict. It's not written in stone. So we just let the music kind of bend over itself and fold over backwards and see, and maybe we'll end up here. Wow. And then when we end up there, we play that.
Wow.
So it's not free, but it's free. So
I like it.
So the idea of the name comes from me. The idea of One Trick Pony is so much of jazz education is rooted around bebop, is rooted around licks, is rooted around this this memorization of these specific things that you have to do to get through the song. Mm-hmm. And improvisation is just so much bigger than that. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't want to think about, for a long time now, I'm trying to brush off some of these licks. I'm trying to retire.
Yeah,
they worked hard. They worked really hard for the money, and I need to put them away. You know what I mean? So I just started getting really irritated when I was playing, and then this would pop up. And I'm like, oh man, I learned that lick when I was 16. And like, there's an appropriate situation. There's a bag for that lick. Like, I can pull that out over here, pull it out. But I did not intend to pull that out. And so that was kind of the idea behind it, is that there's no tricks. There's no bag of tricks.
Gotcha.
And that every moment is responsive. Mm-hmm. And that it's a type of, Pauline Orveros was one of my big inspirations. Mm-hmm. She talks about deep listening. Mm-hmm. So that's something that I, think about approaching improvisation and communication with a meditative, deep listening type of feeling. Like, okay, what are we doing? Like, what is this conversation when we move it beyond words? Where is it going?
Yeah.
And that's been really, really fun. And, that's a project that we just play straight through most of the time. We'll play the full set and just kind of bending and stretching and going in new directions. And so it never feels like stale. It always feels like something different. So that's been a really fun group to play with too. Yeah. Okay.
Then there's AmyAna.
Oh yeah. So see, you just got to go down the list. So that's my friend Ana Barreiro, and she's in LA. And so sadly, we haven't played together since March. She came out for Washington Women in Jazz, and we played. And we did a tour last year, which was amazing. And we got a new grant from Jazz Roads from South Arts, Doris Duke Charitable Foundation, and so we went on a little tour, and we made this record right came out 2019. So we had the tour lined up for April 2020, and went down. So we still haven't played. We were supposed to play in New York. Like, we still haven't been able to do that. Yeah. So so this band has been fighting the good fight to attempt to regain some footing. And it's a combination of a lot of swing stuff and then Brazilian music. But Ana and I write all the tunes, and I like to go crazy, and she likes to go very, very controlled, very tight arrangements. Gotcha. And so it's fun because it's like our personalities fighting each other on a bandstand.
Which biomorphic forms?
Oh, biomorphic. I do a lot of bands. Yeah. You're pulling bands out. I forget. You're like, don't forget.
You don't have to go deep into what, just. No,
it's true. Yeah. It's true.
I thought it was interesting names.
Thank you. Yeah. So biomorphic forms is with Keith Butler Jr. on the drums, and Alex Hamburger on the flute, and she has pedals and she sings, and Nicole Davis, who's a great trumpet player and also plays synthesizers. And this is a little bit more, it's leaned a little bit more electronic, but we played a blues alley, we played more acoustic then. Mm-hmm. And I do some pedals and synthesizer stuff, and but yet again, all original compositions. So all four of us have brought tunes to the table, and just sort of messed around with them. It ends up being a band that is leaning more instrumental, especially for me. I don't do a lot of singing in the band, and Alex and Nicole have had several bands together, so they play together really tight. And then there's no bass player, so I have a great time coming up with different lines and different things using keyboards and extra sounds and things like that. So it's super fun. It's really wild. And the idea behind that one is biomorphic forms is a term for I guess it's an art movement, but the idea of taking abstract art and making it look more organic and more like a human form or like a something that exists in nature. So it might look like a blob, but that's a blob with a human shape. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, so that's kind of the idea, is that we're playing these tunes, but they're kind of going into something that resembles something that you've heard before. Wow. You know what I mean? So,
and what's the Herald Trio?
Herald Trio. So that's with my friend Biggi Vinkeloe, who's in Sweden, and so we haven't played together since the pandemic, which is really sad. But we have 2 records out, and it's Tina Raymond on drums. She lives in LA, so we played a lot in California, and it's a lot of. I brought some poetry into the space, and so it's a lot of loose improvised structures. So we'd be like, okay, this piece is going to be, sonata form. So we would recreate sonata form. And so you didn't have to Biggie's very into this, so you have to keep track of what happened in the A section, what happened in the B section. Wow. And so then you're kind of referencing what you did before. So it ends up being really fun. And Biggie is a really cool writer. And I also did some graphic scores and some things where we're moving through different structures, but it's not as it's clear there's something going on. It's not like we're not just noodling into oblivion. It's clear there's something happening, and there's markers for that, but it's still got a lot of freedom to it. And so that group came about when we went to Sweden, and we were improvising together in like a barn in the middle of Western Sweden. So something from everywhere.
Wow.
Yeah, just a lot of fun.
You have your own record label.
I do.
Okay. Strange Woman Records. Now explain that to the people.
So I as a teenager was called Scary because I'm a very intense person. So, and I have very intense eyeballs. So I have a tendency to stare people down. When they say stuff that I have something to say about. Gotcha. So I rebranded my scariness as strangeness. Okay. And now I've accepted it into my life because I made a realization. This record label came about in 2019, and my husband, Matt Dievendorf, we had a bunch of records that we had made in LA, but we didn't have any money to put them out. So we moved back to DC in 2019, and we were like, let's put our records out now that we're back and we're somewhere where we can actually make money instead of doing $50 gigs in LA. Okay. Yeah. So he finished his doctoral program at USC, outstanding graduate. And then we made this record label. So we started putting these records out, and we put out a Herald Trio record. We put out an AmyAna record. Matt has his own sextet that he put out. That record, and just kind of started putting things out during the pandemic and going into this really intense recording phase. People were just recording all sorts of stuff. So I think the record label is a big part of it is all the skills that I learned as a promoter for Washington Women in Jazz. Oh, wow. And then also thinking about all the people that I'm collaborating with and having a space for us to release our music.
Wow. Yeah. So did I ask you about your time in LA? Was it Los? Yeah. What was that like?
It's very, very sunny.
Really? I mean, I remember.
It was great. Yeah.
I remember we did a gig. We did a gig, and you were telling me, and your husband was there. So we took pictures together.
Oh yeah, those
was
that
great. At the Reagan Building or something?
That was before they built the African American Museum.
Yeah, we had this gig, and you were telling me that you were going to move to LA. Yeah. And I
was like, I'm gonna be famous. No, what did I say? I don't know.
And so now y'all went to LA because he was working on his doctorate there?
Yeah, so we went there, and he got his master's at USC and was teaching, and then got his doctorate. So that was the original excuse to move to LA, but it's LA and it's really fun. Yeah. And we had a great time.
Did you like LA?
I loved LA. Yeah, really? Absolutely loved LA. I feel like if I had infinite money, I would be in LA a lot more.
So what made you come back to DC?
I mean, DC is just my actual community. It's my family. All my family's here. Yeah. I feel like why would I don't know.
Why would you abandon this?
LA is just far. It's far. Yeah. And at the end of the day, I had a great time in LA. but it never could replace the feeling that I had in DC. And also, it's just a different attitude among the music community, which I think DC could use more of.
Mm-hmm.
But it's more driven, obviously it's more driven towards capitalism and more driven towards creating how you're creating money with this. And, you're going to sync placement and you got this gig over here and you got this union thing and you're going on this tour and you're doing this, which is cool, but it's a big hustle. And I wanted to be myself. And I wanted to do all my strange things.
Mm-hmm.
So
come on back to DC.
You know what I mean? So I was like, where can I go where people are going to come? That's the thing about DC is that the people who support the arts here, the people who support music, they're going to come see me no matter what. Mm-hmm. And I have built that up so that whenever I have a gig, I feel like there are people that are coming to the gig. They don't care what I'm doing. Yeah. It could be new songs, it could be old songs, it could be mariachi music. They don't care. You know what? I haven't done a mariachi concert, just for the record. Yeah. But it could be whatever. And then they come and they support it. And I think that the DC community, I tried to do, I did do a lot of events in LA that I promoted myself. I had concert series that I did myself, I had residencies that I did, and I did a lot of the promotional work. But at the end of the day, LA is very large geographically, and being able to promote yourself for a gig in Beverly Hills is like a completely different thing for promoting yourself for a gig in Orange County. So it was very difficult for me to get, even after we spent almost 6 years there, getting that kind of, I was just starting to feel like, oh, maybe I can make this thing. But I had been promoting from day one. But I had a great time there. The quality of musician just is so high. Mm-hmm. Just so many great musicians, so many great people that you could hire for a gig tonight who will crush it. Wow. And to the point where you're like, so that was magical, and going to a lot of jam sessions and hanging out, but also trying to get a lot of my business in order as a professional musician. I think is very important to have that, have people around who are talking about the entertainment industry, whereas DC is, to me, much more about community and advocacy and support. Yeah, that was much more about what are you wearing and are people gonna be entertained, and if they're not, you're out. Wow, we're moving on. You know what I mean? So I think at the end of the day, there are so many great musicians to play with there, and so much great music happening there outside of that entertainment industry complex. There's just so much powerful jazz music and free music and creative music happening that I really enjoyed. And so I try to go back there and play music and hang out, and I'm grateful for that time and for that experience, because I think it changed the way that I saw what I wanted to do in my career and reinforced that DC is the right place for me to be an advocate and to be an artist and to do my own music. Beautiful. And be supported for that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're almost to the end.
Oh my God.
But we got to, you're a co-host for a radio show on WPFW.
Oh no, that's over.
Oh.
I pawned it off.
You don't do that anymore?
I don't do it anymore.
What was that experience like though?
It was great. I had so much fun. It was with Aaron Myers.
Okay.
And Aaron's a trip. So we cut up the whole radio show was us. We would interview people and then play their music, and it was all DC area musicians. And so we had a blast, and it lives on. Yeah. The show lives on. Jamie Sandell from Capital Bop hosts the show now. It's still on Thursdays. Okay. And WPFW is the best. Yeah. And
how long did y'all host the show?
I was there. And that was called Jazz Stories.
Jazz Stories.
Yeah, so it's still on Thursdays with all the DC music and the interviews.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and Jamie's doing a great job, and he's somebody that came in whenever Aaron and I couldn't make it too, and so he knew what was going on, and he's very in touch with what's happening in the scene. So yeah, that was I was 2018, and then I left mid pandemic. I think. Okay. I was like.
Yeah.
I think the funnest part for me about the show was being at WPFW. Yeah. Because I go in there and I see, Katia Stitt, and I see Sandra Butler Truesdale, and I make the hang, and I know what's going on. I felt like I knew what was happening all the time. And here's a flyer, don't miss the African Independent Film Festival, and don't miss this. And they're giving out this over here, and this parade, and this march, and this, So I knew what was happening in DC more than I ever had before. And so I think once the pandemic happened, we couldn't go into the studio. It lost a lot of luster for me because I didn't get to hang out with people. I'm not an internet person.
Well, we got to talk about the Turnaround magazine.
Yeah. Oh, look at that.
Look at that.
Ooh.
Turnaround. Now, what's the Turnaround magazine? Talk to us.
Yes.
Talk to the people.
Yeah. So this is... I'm ready to pitch it. This is a project that I've been wanting to do forever. And it's a companion to the work that I've been doing with Washington Women in Jazz and with Strange Woman Records.
Okay.
And highlighting women musicians.
Okay.
We have a lot of women writers, women musicians creating their own content. So it functions as, to me, inspired by DC punk zines, the culture of printing out your own zines. But I'm a little bit fancier than that. And so I wanted to also have some really heavy hitting journal articles. So we have some research work that's being done on women in jazz. And I also got to interview NEA jazz master Dee Dee Bridgewater.
Wow. So
like some really heavy hitting journalistic stuff too.
You're doing your thing.
It's super fun. And it's combined with artwork and, some more written essays and just a lot of different things. It's a real eclectic mix of articles and pieces that are brought together by the community that's come around from Washington Women in Jazz. So we're working on our second issue now, which is going to be coming out for the 14th Annual Washington Women in Jazz Festival. And we're also doing a podcast starting in October where we'll be interviewing, doing an audio archive, thanks to Humanities DC, about the Washington Women in Jazz, the history of the festival. So I'll be interviewing a bunch of women who've been on the festival, and so that'll be coming out in the fall. And then all of those women who are interviewed on the Turnaround podcast are going to be featured in the Turnaround magazine for the second issue. So it's a lot of pieces.
I don't know how you do all this stuff,
but it's beautiful. We're just out here doing stuff.
Yeah.
Don't want to get bored.
We got to talk about you as an educator. Now you mentioned you had worked with the Jazz Arts Institute.
Yes, definitely. With Davey Yarborough and Esther Williams, they created the Washington Jazz Arts Institute. I think in 1998, right? Yeah, because this year is the 25th anniversary, and so it's incredible, not only because of the level of the education that's happening there, but also because it's a free program. So, if you are like me in high school and you can go and you don't have to worry about how am I gonna pay for this jazz program? It's 5 weeks in the summer and then on the weekends during the school year. And so a lot of those programs, it's thousands of dollars to go to something like that. And it is so impactful on the community to see how many musicians come through that program every year and how many musicians I have known since I started going there. And then I was an intern and then I taught there. How many musicians have come out of that program that I'm working with and seeing as professional musicians, I already mentioned Angel Bethea went there and I met her there. Ronald Trey Walton, amazing composer. He's doing incredible work writing operas. He came through that program. Kwaku Sumbri, amazing drummer, who's up in New York and back and forth, came through that program. I mean, just it's the list goes on and on and on. Wow. It's just dozens and dozens of professional musicians who spent their time in that program, because not only is it giving you information about jazz, but it's really giving you fundamentals of being a musician and being a professional, and how to set up the PA and how to break down the drum set and how to do and talking about gigs and how we're gonna do the gig and what we're gonna get paid for this and what's gonna happen for this. So it's a professional development program that cannot be beat. And on top of that, when I did it, and now it continues to be part of the summer youth employment program. So if you're a DC resident and you're 14 to 25, you can go and sign up and you will get paid to go to the program, because we're going out into the community and playing music.
Beautiful.
So you get paid minimum wage to be there, learning about the music, learning about being a professional musician, and it's absolutely crucial. And I think that there's obviously a lot of Ellington students that end up there, but now it's really broadened to be more and more the community finds out about it and they play, and we've got a big band, we've got a bunch of ensembles and vocal group and all those things. So it's incredible. Yeah.
Beautiful.
I love
What is
teaching.
the Reach Kennedy Centers? Reach, have you worked with that programming?
Oh yeah, we did a right when they started to open up the Reach for programming, we did a Washington Women in Jazz. We did The Future is Female jazz program where we've been able to talk about women in jazz history and also play the music of different artists that were featured. Yeah, that's been cool. And then I also worked at the education department. I music directed a show called Beast Girl, and that was the first big show to be in Studio K, which is a giant space in the Reach, and super awesome group of mostly women who were leading this entire production, all female cast, and that was my first experience music directing.
Wow.
And I was like, well, why not music direct your first thing at the Kennedy Center? That's no pressure.
Yeah.
That's no pressure at all.
Yeah.
Woo! So that was a wild ride. I had forgotten about theater people, and I fell back in love with them in really hard, just tumbled my way back. And I was like, wow, I'm normally the most enthusiastic person in a room full of musicians. And when I'm in a theater space, I am on the lower tier of enthusiasm. Wow. I had no idea. And I was like, oh, wow. And the nice thing is I'm a nerd in music space. I'm a nerd. I'm a dork. I've accepted it. And I'm an open book in the jazz community. When I'm in the theater community, I might be the coolest person in the room.
Got you.
No pressure. They're like, oh, you're a jazz musician? I'm like, yeah, let's act like that's cool.
Yeah.
Sure.
Now, real quick, what is the Grammy U and 202 creates?
Yeah, so I'm a member of the Recording Academy, which they do a ton of advocacy work.
Okay.
They have Music Cares, which is a lot of, you don't even have to be a member of the Recording Academy to take advantage of their services. So they have health care and mental health care, and if you need grant funding for emergency medical, they have dental clinics.
Really?
So I used to get my teeth cleaned in Chinatown in like 2009 at like a pop-up Grammy, Music Cares.
Beautiful.
And so thanks to them, I don't have any cavities. And so they do a lot of amazing things. And one of the things that they do as part of the Recording Academy is they have this Grammy U where they partner you with a student, and anywhere in the country can join Grammy U and see what's happening with the Recording Academy, what's happening with professional musicians everywhere, and they'll partner you with somebody to be their mentor and just talk to them about your experiences as a musician. And it's really chill. And I've just had some really great experiences with people who I normally ask for somebody that's nearby so that I can take them to my gig and show them what's happening and introduce them to people, or we can go to Mr. Henry's, go to the jam session and do some tunes together, because Herb puts on a great session and anybody in any genre can come and perform there. So, that's always a good spot. Just to get them more into the idea of understanding that this entire music is based on networking, is based on community. If you don't know anybody, you're just going to be on the internet sad for the rest of your life. So yeah, Grammy U is a really cool program. And then 202 Creates is from the DC Mayor's office.
Okay.
And they support, it's the Creative Affairs office in DC. They support a lot of different musicians and artists and any creative projects that are happening in the city. They have a residency program. And so you can be in the residency program, and they talk about business development and business grants and setting up licensing and so different things you need to support, bookkeeping, to support your career. And then from there, once you graduate from this program, you can decide to be a mentor to help somebody who's going through the program now. So that I do that, and I feel like a lot of times the people I get know even more about business than I do, and that's why I feel silly. It's like mutual mentorship, you know what I mean? Because I'm like, oh, you take QuickBooks? QuickBooks? I just use Google Sheets. Like I don't know about QuickBooks. Like they're like, oh yeah, so my Roth IRA. I'm like, which one is that one? So that's been really cool, because it's been a great way for me to meet a lot of awesome creative people and comedians and rappers and all sorts of really cool people that are in DC that we wouldn't know about, being professional musicians and doing our thing. And we don't get a chance to go out because a lot of times it's at the same time. You know, you're like Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to go to your show, but I have to work.
Yeah.
So it's a great way to network and kind of see what's happening in other scenes and how we can use that to help out what we're doing. Beautiful. And vice versa. Yeah.
We covered a lot of ground. Yeah. We have some final questions.
Uh-oh.
You ready?
Final round.
First question.
Lightning round. And
it's a rhetorical question for me.
Oh.
But what is it like being married to a musician?
Oh, wow. Wow. So good. So good. You know, he knows when to leave me alone.
Yes.
I think that is the most crucial part of being with another creative person is that don't talk to me.
Yeah.
Do not talk to me. And we have a very small house. And so he'll go in one room. We only have 2 rooms. He'll go in one room. I'm in the other room. The door is shut, and we're both practicing. That's it. You're like, don't.
Do y'all play together?
Yeah, well, we play together all the time.
Yeah, okay.
And, you know, we made it through LA taking all sorts of gigs together. And that's always a treat because we don't get to do it as much anymore because we're both super, super busy. So we're not doing a lot of pickup gigs.
Yeah.
And so, but when we do, it's always fun. And
do y'all play around the house together?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll play in the house. We have people come over.
Okay.
We'll play with, you know, anybody. You gotta come over. You gotta come over and play. Yeah. We'll play some music. We record a lot in the house and in different spaces, and so it's always a blast when we play music together and when we talk about music and talk about these big projects that we're both just making bigger and bigger things. So it's been really fun and having the record label with him as a treat. And we went on vacation, which was amazing. And then I was like, oh, we're on vacation, but we're also at the Montreal Jazz Festival. So like it's vacation, but like we both want to hang out and see some music and like have a good time. So it's so magical. I think that I don't know who I am divorced from my creative self. You know what I mean? Uh-huh. And I don't know who that person is. I think I'd be not a healthy person because I do get a lot out of creating, and I don't know if life would be worth living for me if I couldn't be constantly creating. And so to have somebody who is pursuing something creative, I think it would be, I mean, I'm grateful that he's such an amazing musician and that I've been learning to play the guitar and have all these, you know, instruments around, and he has so many great skills that he can show me. But, you know, we'd be together regardless. And I think that having somebody who's a creative is the most crucial part, because if I just had somebody who just went, you know, 9 to 5 and then came home and watched Netflix. I love Netflix. Don't get me wrong. I love Netflix. I'm not trying to hate on Netflix. And but you know, and didn't want to explore this process or didn't understand this process of that I'm going through constantly. That would be rough. That would be rough.
I agree.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, what's next for Amy K Bormet?
I already got too many things going on.
I'm
on cleanup crew right now.
I don't know how you do all this stuff. It's really amazing. It's like,
thank you.
Like,
it's a lot.
Woo. Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot of things are happening.
Yeah.
So right now I got to clean up my choice. You know what I mean? Like I got a lot of stuff spread out. So there's a lot of that happening where I've thankfully received some grants. And I've been able to. The thing about these grants is that they don't tell you that when you receive them, you have to do the project. So now I'm like, oh, I got, you know, so when it rains, it pours. So now I'm working on some projects, trying to finish the turnaround, the audio archive for Washington Women in Jazz, and trying to get some of these bands in order. I have a ton of music that I want to record. So I think this vocal ensemble project is the next big thing for me. I'm working to get that in the studio in the fall, and just thinking about developing more of the songs. And then I've been doing a lot of co-writing. I am working on an opera, So we'll see how that goes. I did this great, because I got back into the theater space this summer with Alliance for New Music Theater, which is a DC organization. They had a composer librettist studio, and so we had 5 composers and 5 librettists, and so I got to work with 5 different librettists and heard my pieces performed by incredible singers.
You making me question whether I'm a real musician or not.
What? You're Antonio Parker!
I'm like, wow.
Just how you're doing stuff. I'm waiting for the Antonio Parker opera. I would listen to that any day. You know I'm down to jam.
Well, tell the people.
Yes.
How they can contact you, and you can look in the camera. And tell them how they can contact you if they want to learn more about what you're doing.
Yes.
And what's next,
Yes.
Talk to the people.
Internet. I am Amy K Bormet. You can find me on the internet, amykbormet.com. I'm also WashingtonWomenInJazz.com. I keep those sites both pretty updated with the calendar of events, so come hang out. I also have Instagram pages at Amy K Bormet. Everything's just under my name. Please find me on Bandcamp, strangewomanrecords.com. We have a wonderful assortment of really, really great music. We now have 7 records out under the label. So not only my music, but music that I have fully endorsed, strangewomanrecords.com. And if you want to contact me, you're going to have to come to a gig and buy something.
Okay.
That's it. You have to come to a gig. Just give me cash. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
If you want to contact me, I have my contact information on my websites.
Beautiful.
And I may or may not respond to you. I'm busy. Just leave with the cash. You know what I mean? The cash never hurts.
This has been a fascinating interview. I've learned so much. Oh, man. I say I got a lot of work to do. I really feel like aspiring musicians are going to get something from this, because I mean,
that's so many things.
No, but it's really good to know that your hustle, very admirable, and and things you're doing is great, and I want you to keep doing it. I like the idea, like when you started your festival, Washington Women in Jazz. You said, I didn't know what I was doing. I just and you just did it.
Yeah.
And you believe that you could do it.
Absolutely.
And I think that's one of the takeaways I think that people want to get from this.
Well, and this scene in particular, I mean, I keep talking about how I came back to DC, but that's because when I started my festival, everybody showed up.
Yeah.
Capital Bop was like, there's a new festival.
Yeah.
I was on the news. I was in the paper. I was like, everybody showed up. And DC loves something good. Yeah, no so if you're making something you believe in,
yes,
people are gonna come for it.
No doubt.
Yeah.
So
it's beautiful.
Well, I want to thank you again.
Thank you
for coming on to Conversations in Jazz and blessing us with your story and all the wonderful things you're doing. And we want you to continue doing great things, and and hopefully we get to play in the near future.
I'm ready. I'm ready. Call me for the gig.
So all the best to you. Thank you so much. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah.
No doubt. So there it is.
Woo!
You've been listening to the lovely Amy K Bormet right here on A Conversation in Jazz. And we'll see you on the next one.
A piece with you. Leave my brains okay for another day. Oh, you can't believe it. Yeah, you can't conceive it. I can't believe it's true. I can't believe it. I was all you needed. Now you want somebody new. Then make someone new. Perfect size. That back, those thighs, some bedroom eyes. So wait all together, wait for stormy weather. Sunday secret parts will revive again. Will revive again. It's alive, it's alive. The one you always dreamed of, blind and sticking through. Her heart is sticking away. She opens her eyes. She's alive. Now that she's caught in your embrace, you take one look at her face, and there's just a trace of angry rage. You can't believe it, oh, you can't conceive it. You swear you made her at the perfect stage.